Hey, welcome back, guys. So sorry about the background noise. I got my kid out here, so he's watching TV, and I got the heater going because it's kind of chilly. But like the title says, we're going to be putting an independent rear suspension into this 2006 Wolverine. It's the same frame as the Kodiaks and the Grizzlies with the straight axle. Independent rear suspensions from the Grizzly 350, Kodiak 400, Grizzly 450, and Kodiak 450. The early editions 05, 06 are pretty much a direct swap. Newer than that, you start having the internal brakes on the differential, so you got to watch out for that. But I got it torn down. I'll show you why we're doing this. Besides the bearings being completely shot in this thing, this here differential, I found that the drain plug here is broken off. They had a brass fitting in there. And just JB welded the hell out of it to make it stop leaking. And I would say that, well, it didn't leak. However, it didn't have any fluid in it whatsoever. This is the ring gear. This has not been sitting outside since I took it out. So this is how it was inside. And then while I was trying to remove that race, I broke the housing. And then that's pretty much the condition of the entire thing. I mean, that's the axle. So to get a new differential, it was about $500, and I found a donor machine complete for $400. So, and we'll take a look at that here in a minute. So essentially, you gotta strip everything down, get it to this point here. Other than I'm still working on this drive shaft. You have to leave this yoke in the machine, but this one has to be changed to the smaller axle for the independent rear suspension. It kind of kicks over and centers itself, as this is all offset to the right. But you just use the Kodiak or your donor U-joint because of the grease zerk. But then you just got to pop this off. There's clips in here you pop off, and then you smack it. I'm still working on one clip here that's still on there, and it's facing backwards, of course, but it looks all original to me. So this thing was not maintenance. If you've been following the channel, like 10 of you have, we tore this down last year. It was all spray painted black and stuff, barely ran, and fixed it up. This is actually my wife's machine. Completely redid the front end and stuff, and what I should have done was check the rear end then, but whatever. We went out and rode it a bunch, and it was fine. And I was putting around the yard with the little one, and all of a sudden I kind of heard a lot of bad noises. So independent rear suspension will make it ride a lot better, handle a lot better, and be less rigid in the back. So I have a Kodiak 450 with independent rear suspension. I like it a lot better. So gonna hook her up. Let's get to it. So once you're able to get your get these C-clips off, you just kind of hit on the yoke until the caps start to come out, and there you go. And if you wanted to, you could get that one out all the way, but I don't need it for what I'm doing, so I'm gonna leave it just how it is. Once you're here, because you're gonna have to weld in some tabs up here, and I'll kind of show you on the Kodiak. But once you get it to this point, you're pretty much done with it up until you have your replacement parts and machine ready. So let's work on that. And yeah, I don't have any other room. So 250R is on the channel. Did some maintenance work on that, got it starting up real nice. That's a hybrid it's a YFZ with a KTM 300 two-stroke in it. I'm working on it. The video's not out yet, so yeah. All right, let me figure out what I'm gonna do getting the parts back in here. The donor is in the shop. Got it up here. So essentially the independent rear suspension cradle is just bolts in. It holds everything. These are the same bolt or same locations as the straight axle. So those bolts, and then these bolts, and then these are the brackets that we're gonna have to make. I thought about cutting them off and I'm still not opposed. And then I don't believe the Wolverine has this crossbar either. So that's what we have to have. But even with the independent rear suspension, it still only has one brake, and it's on the left side just like the other one. I'd have to look at sway bar links if it's really needed or not. We'll just have to tell. But yeah, other than that, this part of the frame is the same, other than the Wolverine has kind of like a support bar that goes across there. So yeah, I mean, really, just this bracket and maybe something like here. And I mean, that weld's big enough that I could probably cut away at that and just take that mount with it. I'm just kind of looking over it as well, guys. So, all right, hopefully, let's take a peek, see at the rear end. Okay, it's got a drain plug in it, not RTV, so that's good. But you kind of see how that drive shaft is kicked left. That's why we have to use that one. Kind of oily. I would do a will it run, but this whole thing is torn apart. You can run it just like this, but he thought there was a clutch issue. I don't know. He said it would ride and then it would lose power. I don't know. It's just a 400, so I'm not too worried about it. It'd be a good parts bike. I picked it up for 400 bucks. I did have to drive 4.5 hours to get it, and that's one way, so 8 hours total. But that alone is worth it. So let's get to it. Disconnect the sway bar links. Take out the two lower bolts, these two upper bolts, and then the breather hose that goes down to the transmission case. You can pop out the clips right here, and then it'll fold down. And and then the brake line. Remove the voltage regulator, just disconnect it, and your exhaust, and really that's the only thing connecting these. And then your drive shaft is a slip yoke, so it'll pull out of itself. So the smart thing to do would be to lower it down, put the tires back on it so I can roll it off. It won't be the fun in that, so I'm just gonna manhandle this and hope for the best. I don't know how much it weighs, to be honest with you. Oh, that ain't bad. I'd say probably 70 pounds or so. Woo! And that frees you up to have easier access to this inside one, and you will have to reuse this this U-joint, unless you get a new one. I couldn't get one here overnight from Amazon or anything. They're like 2 weeks out, so I'm just going to try to use that one, and if I can't, it's not that big of a deal. I got a lot of fabricating to do before then. I am kind of touching base with a guy who's already done it. I'm not the first one by any means. There's a lot of Kodiak people out there and Grizzly that put independent rear suspension in there. It's the same thing, other than Wolverines were only made for 4 years. Just ask him what he did, that sort of thing. I don't know if he ended up doing that, but like I said, that's a big enough weld that I could cut that out and reuse it. But all that would do is limit the axle drop. So who knows, maybe we don't need it. Just kind of cut that welds off and then just weld that whole thing on. Let me take some measurements. Well, really, once I plug in those bottom ones, I should just be able to lift it up, and then I'd have my measurements too. Well, I would say the hardest part so far has been trying to get these C-clips off for these U-joints. I'm gonna try my best to try to reuse these, but that one fell to the ground, and as you can see, all the needle bearings fell down. Who knows, might have to just put together what I can and just wait for that U-joint. But yeah, that has been the toughest part so far, has just been trying to get a good angle. It looks from the factory they put it in this way because it's the easiest, but then you got to hit them this way and there's not a lot of room. I had to move my tire lift back a little bit to get a better angle, and that finally worked. But you got a cut off wheel, you don't care, you got a new one, you know, it might just be easier to cut them off, but just be careful. cap from the Wolverine and put it on there and got that all buttoned back up. Feels good. So not worried about that at all. Now for the fun part, I really think I'm gonna have to take out this crossbar because I think it's gonna sit right here. And I mean, unless I do some drastic drop there, maybe if I just cut it and then move it back. I mean, I don't think it'll need this anymore due to the IRS cradle kind of being its new support. But I think it goes right here. And this is my seat latch, so I don't know if that's right or if something's broke or what, but it holds my seat down, so I don't really care. The Kodiaks are up here. Only one way to tell is to get it up there. Might take that off right quick because I know for a fact that one has it relocated right there, so only one way to find out. Well, turns out the crossbar does need to come off, so. Not the straightest. How's it full of dirt? How's it full of dirt? It's closed off. Like butter. I was afraid I was kind of cutting up right here, which I think I was getting close to nicking the actual squirt off too, but I can clean those up and grind those flat right quick. I'm going to put a rack in that too. That there is first mock-up, guys. All I did, I got the yoke started first, put in my lower bolts, used the strap, pulled it up. I went and cut this off of the other frame. I used the Sawzall. I wouldn't recommend it. I would try to use like an air angle grinder, something with a real thin, just so you can kind of hug that line, but I think it'll work. I'm gonna clean up right here and here, take a few measurements. It was 2.5 from the bottom of the frame to there, so I just want to make sure I still have that. Wonder if I could rotate this back and bend it. I have to take a look at her. That looks pretty good. Pretty excited about that. All I'm saying is a grinder in a paint makes it the welder I ain't. Ooh, that's a little bubble gummy. I didn't realize how bad that was. I was having a bad ground issue, but it did hold up. So I even pried on it. I think she'll roll. Honestly, guys, it could not turn that tight beforehand. Now my tire offset, they were quite a bit wider in the front, when it had that straight axle. So the independent rear actually widens it up a bit so they're even. It helps the turning radius. And yeah, she ripped. She has a good power now. I don't think it had that much, but again, my bearings were all messed up. So if you're watching here till the end, I appreciate you sticking with me. I know I didn't go crazy in depth, but it's honestly super simple. Change out the drive shafts, cut that top mount out, weld it in, bolt everything up, you're good to go. So great swap if you can find a donor bike for cheap, or even take two good ones and just kind of flip them around, take a straight axle, put in the other one. Just take those crossbars that you cut out and put them in the other one. You'll be good to go. Highly recommend it. Please like, share, subscribe. I do all sorts of crazy stuff, so keep between the ditches unless that's where you intend to go. Catch you next time.